Joining us now, Fox News contributor, former Deputy Chief of Staff to President George W. Bush, Karl Rove, who writes about this very thing in his upcoming column in the Wall Street Journal. Mr. Rove, great to see you. It is embarrassing.
Great to see you.
I'm almost embarrassed for the Democrats and for the likes of Pritzker that they're trying to use this as a weapon, but they always give themselves away because they accuse Republicans and conservatives of doing what they do at their worst.
Yeah, you pointed out Illinois as one of the key violators here. Trump got 40% of the vote, and 82% of the delegation, 14 out of 17, are Democrats. New York, Hochul says it's all's fair in love and war, she says. So despite the Constitution of New York saying you can't redistrict in the middle of the decade, she says we're going to do it. Trump got 43%, 73% of the delegation, 19 of 26 are Democrats. And then California, Newsom says, I don't care what the California Constitution says. I'm going to ram for whatever number of seats are flipped in Texas. I'm going to flip those seats back to the Democrats in California, even though the Constitution of my state doesn't allow me to do that. 38% is what Trump got. 83% of the delegation in California are Democrats. And you're right. The worst example is Illinois. I mean, they got 2 seats. You pointed out the 2 in western and southern parts of the state. I mean, they're jokes. They take every union stronghold, Rockford, Quad Cities, then a little bit of Peoria where there's some blue-collar neighborhoods, and then stretch it over to the Illinois State University, and it looks like a serpent. And in order to do that, they have to make one of the Republican seats look like, I was looking at them, and the first thing that came to me was, it was a coal miner kicking a can. I mean, these things are just bizarre.
It's beyond bizarre. I call it the drunken serpent, and pretty much that's what you get in Illinois. Look, I get this, but when you look at Texas, Karl, and you look at the reasoning behind it, and I have issues with gerrymandering from either side of the aisle, but they have a legitimate purpose and reason that's covered under their Constitution because of the surge since COVID, the growth in population, and their requirement of one person, one vote, and proportional representation. So Texas has an argument, unlike, Governor Hairgel, as Dagan rightly calls him, who even the Terminator says, hey, this can't work.
Yeah, David, I hate to correct you, but they're not using updated numbers. They can't use updated numbers. They're using the census numbers in order to have these districts. But what they are doing is they are creating, let's be honest about it, 5 new Republican seats, or maybe 4, because one of the seats requires them knocking off a popular, albeit troubled Democrat who ran 6 points ahead of Kamala Harris in his district. But look, this is, both parties do it. They draw these lines to give advantage to their party. What Texas also does is it creates, for the first time ever, 2 black majority congressional districts. Wasn't that a goal of the Voting Rights Act? Now, admittedly, they're 50 some odd, low 50s black majority districts, because they also wanted to be compact and contiguous in communities of interest, rather than doing what has been done in states like Alabama and Louisiana, where they've drawn these across the strait in order to draw together black communities. They've also created the 8th Hispanic majority district in the state, albeit one that votes for Republican, like several of the others do. So, look, I'm like you. I get queasy about us doing this, but they've been doing it. The Republicans are now doing it. The Democrats say, well, they'll retaliate. But let's not kid ourselves. This is hypocrisy of the rankest order, particularly when you have it being Pritzker, Hochul, and Newsom being the spokesman for the Democratic Party. I noticed the former Attorney General, Eric Holder, jumped out and said, by God, they shouldn't be doing it in mid-decade. As Attorney General, he ordered North Carolina to redistrict in the middle of the decade in order to kill 2 Republican congressional seats. So he's another one who ought to be added to the hypocrites list.
Oh, well, I can talk about Eric Holder, why he needs to be on a bunch of different lists for about 10 hours, Karl. But with the caterwauling, and I call Gavin Newsom the pompadour of pomposity. That's my name for him. But the caterwauling from these liberals, these Democrats, will it bite them? Because now they've drawn attention to their shenanigans. And what's Pritzker, is he really threatening to get rid of the 3 Republicans who are representatives from the state?
Well, first of all, it'd be darn difficult to do it. And that's because they are in the western and southern parts of the state, and you go the lengths to which they had to draw Democrat seats. The seat that begins in East St. Louis and runs up like a narrow serrated blade to Champaign-Urbana, where the University of Illinois is. I mean, the only way that they can get rid of the 3 Republican seats they've got is to engage in shenanigans that are going to make what they did so far look like the precise work of mathematicians. No,
right.
they can't do it. It's phony. So look, and look, let's be honest. Texas Democrats are ultimately, enough of them going to fade. They've got families, they've got businesses. They only get paid $600 a month as a legislator. They got to come home. This is going to maybe require a second called special session, but the Republicans are going to get the map. This has happened before, and this is how it always ends.
Karl Rove, thank you, sir. Great to see you.
Great to see you.